Welcome back to the Reading Room. I am Josh Bearheart Hawk, author of The Journal, Legends and Tales, Creepy and Fun Stories to Tell Around the Campfire, and GPS Signal Lost. And today we are on to Chapter 15 of The Journal. We've made it through 14 chapters and things are just starting to get crazy. So let's go ahead and dive into it and see where we're going with this. Chapter 15 is titled Things We Lost. Walking through the door of Margaret's, Heath half expected to see James behind the bar like he had so many times before. Looking around the room at the peeling paint and dusty windows, he could almost hear the sound of James's voice asking about his latest adventure. Dropping a dime in the jukebox, Heath selected his favorite track and walked over to sit at his usual stool. From this spot, he had spent hours of his life talking about work, women, booze, religion, and just about any other topic that came up in the moment. James would occasionally jump in and provide a counter-argument to whatever was bothering Heath, but for the most part he would just listen. Sometimes, though, James would take the lead on a conversation. These would be the times he was passing on wisdom that Heath wouldn't get anywhere else. There we were, stranded in the desert, 200 miles from the nearest town. Margaret was trying to crank the engine, and I was looking for any sign of life on the horizon. She was so mad at me for not helping, but I knew that crank was shot. When it sticks like that, there isn't a force in the world that'll make it turn. After about 6 hours, she gave up, but I was sure we would be all right. Just as the sun was going down, I spotted it, a caravan in the distance. I'll never forget the look on her face when I pointed it out. Of course, they did hold us as prisoners for a week before we were able to escape, but by then we were back in town. Just goes to show, sometimes even the worst situations can wind up saving your life. Heath smiled as he remembered the old man's chirpy demeanor. James wasn't always the happiest, but he did always seem to find a bright spot in things. Standing up and walking around the bar, Heath poured himself a drink. Raising the glass in the air, he gave a silent toast to the past and downed the whole thing. As he poured another, the door of the bar opened and a dark figure walked in out of the September sun. I'm sorry, but we're closed. The owner recently passed away, and I'm not sure if we're going to reopen anytime soon. I'm not here for a drink, the man said, in a voice that Heath immediately recognized. As the man walked up to the bar, Heath was trying to remember where he had seen him. He knew the voice from the phone calls telling him about Alex Young and Mark Appleton, but he hadn't seen the face before. I don't remember seeing you at the diner, Heath said. That's because you didn't. I was in the back working the stove. When I heard Tiffany say someone was looking for Persephone, I had to see who was asking. I recognized you as the guy who helped my mom get back some of my dad's things a few years ago after he passed. And I knew if you were involved in finding Persephone, it must be something big. I wanted to help, but I was afraid of who might find out. You mean Alex Young? He's not really a problem anymore. He never was the problem. The kind of stuff going on here is bigger than you realize, the man said as he sat down on a stool across the bar from Heath. Well then, why don't you tell me what's really going on, Mr. Heath leaned back against the wall and crossed his arms as he raised an eyebrow. My name's not important. I like Persephone and I just want to see her saved. Did you look into Mark Appleton? A bead of sweat cascaded down the man's forehead and his eyes turned to look down at the bar. No, I didn't. My friend was working on that when he wound up dead. Heath narrowed his eyes, keeping them locked on the stranger. For several moments, neither man spoke. Heath could tell there was something the man was holding back, but getting it wouldn't be easy. How about a drink? Heath said, grabbing a glass and filling it from the top. Oh, I don't drink. You do if you want my help. That's why you're here, isn't it? You said you care about Persephone. I'm the only one who can help her. So you drink, and you tell me what you know. Heath set the now full glass on the bar in front of the man. It's on the house, he finished with a smile. Looking back and forth between Heath and the glass, the man finally reached down and grabbed the drink, putting it up to his lips. He took a long sip before setting it back on the counter. It was about a year ago. Persephone fell into this group, a bad group. There were a lot of rumors about them at the time, but I didn't really believe most of them. Stories of human sacrifice, hexing people, drinking blood, basically anything you can think of that devil worshippers would do, they supposedly did. He took another long sip from his beer and went on. So, before that, Persephone would hang out at the diner with a bunch of us. Even after, she would stop by from time to time, but eventually she stopped coming around except when she was riding with Alex. We all just assumed that she was going through a phase and would come back when she was over it, but that never happened. So she didn't really disappear, she left? Heath asked. Yes and no. She did leave, but she's also gone missing. I asked around after you came into the diner, and no one's seen her since late July. Something's wrong. The man took another drink, this time gulping down the beer. Okay, so I get how Alex Young fits into this now, but where did you get the name Mark Appleton? The little bit we were able to find points to him being dead for 30 years. Heath leaned on the bar, watching the man's face for any reaction to the name. Persephone mentioned the name once before she stopped coming around. She said they would hang out at Mark Appleton's place and get high. I asked her once where he lived, but she just laughed and changed the subject. His eyes dropped, and he leaned on the stool as he finished. Heath remembered Dee saying something about Persephone hanging out at cemeteries with her friends. He couldn't help but wonder if Mr. Appleton's grave had been the hangout spot. It seemed weird that they would pick some random guy's grave, but maybe there was more to it. Is there anything else she said, or anything else you know? Any detail could be the one that I need to track her down, Heath said. That's everything I know, Mr. Borgiers. Just promise me that no one will find out that I'm the one who told you all of this. I don't make promises, but I'll do what I can. I don't even know your name, so it's not like they can get that out of me. Heath smiled, trying to be as reassuring as he could. The drive from Margaret's back to the office felt like it took years. Heath was anxious to tell Samantha everything and get back to work. He couldn't bring James back, but solving the case would bring some closure. A police squad car sat in front of the building as Heath pulled up. Throwing his car in park, he jumped out and sprinted inside. Samantha was sitting in his office on the couch, and a deputy was standing across the room from her, writing something down. "Are you okay?" Heath asked, as she got up and wrapped her arms around him. "Yes, just shaken up. I was reading a book when a rock came through the window. I thought for sure someone was breaking in, so I screamed and called the police. Whoever it was ran off before I could see them." "Mr. Borgiers, I'm Deputy Callahan from the MVPD. I think we have all we need as far as evidence and information. I was just waiting for you to get here so Miss Samantha wasn't left alone in case the vandal came back. It sounds like some punk just trying to cause trouble. I left the rock here on your desk. I didn't notice anything special about it." "Thank you for your help, Deputy. We'll call if they come back." Heath shook the deputy's hand and showed him out, while Samantha sat back down. After the deputy had gone, Heath put on a pot of coffee, checking on Samantha as it brewed. When the coffee was ready, he poured them both a cup and told her what happened at the bar and what the stranger had told him. "Why would they be hanging out at some random grave? There has to be a reason," Samantha said when he finished. "My thoughts exactly. Why bother mentioning the name at all? My guess is that we'll find some answers at the cemetery where Mr. Appleton is buried," Heath said as he got up to get another cup of coffee. "Do you think this man can be trusted? It seems strange that he would be so invested in the whole thing. The 2 times he has given you information, someone has wound up dead." The last word hung in the air as it left her lips. The reality of the situation hadn't sunk in for either of them fully. Heath stood at the coffee pot for longer than he meant to, staring down at his now full cup and soaking in Samantha's words. This mystery man had indeed given them the name of Alex Young, who wound up dead in prison not long after he was arrested. James' death, following the second name the man provided, was he somehow involved? I don't trust him any more than I trust anyone else we've dealt with on this case, but the information he's given us so far has panned out. I think our best bet is to follow the Mark Appleton lead that James was on, being extra careful and see where it goes," Heath said, turning to face Samantha once more. His heavy eyes met hers as a tear rolled down her cheek. "I can't keep doing this, Heath. This case. We've never worked on one with so much death. Where does it end?" She wiped the tear from her cheek and leaned back onto the couch. It was true that their cases rarely involved anything more than the retrieval of items, and only a couple of them had included someone dying. He had walked across the room and sat down next to Samantha, putting his arm around her shoulders and pulling her in close. They sat like that for several minutes in silence, occasionally sipping their coffee and keeping their thoughts bottled up. Finally, Heath spoke. "One more case. We solve this one for James, and then hang it up. I'll sell the office, we'll hop on a plane and go anywhere you want. We can buy a house on an island somewhere, live out our days on the beach, settle down in the Great Plains, become professional ice fishers in the Arctic, anything. As long as you're with me, I'll be happy." "Retire? Together? What are you really asking?" She pulled away and looked in his eyes as he spoke. She knew the answer, but she didn't believe that she was hearing him right. "It's something I've been thinking about for a while, and with everything that's happened over the past couple of months, I've been trying to find the right time to bring it up. You've been there for me through everything for the past 12 years, and I can't imagine a single day going by where I don't see your face. Do you think... I know we haven't exactly had a conventional relationship, but maybe we could get married?" His face turned red as he said the last word. This wasn't exactly the way he was expecting the night to go, but this might be the last chance he had to ask her. Smiling, she answered by leaning over and giving him a passionate kiss. Driving through the open gate of the Fredericktown Cemetery, Heath looked around for any sign of life. He promised Samantha he would be careful, but he had to know what was so special about Mark Appleton's grave. She wanted to come with him, but he convinced her that it would be safer for him to go alone because he could focus more on his surroundings and move quicker if something happened. Rather than just sit in the office, though, she decided to make a trip to Columbus to see an old friend who worked in the state record-keeping office. She wouldn't be able to find the kind of information they would have gotten from the county archive, but if the grave turned out to be nothing, they needed any leads they could get. Pulling slightly off the road, Heath parked his car and eyed the grounds. Nothing stood out to him as being out of place, but he had never felt this uncomfortable in a cemetery. Climbing out of the car, he grabbed the shovel from the back seat and began searching for Mr. Appleton's grave. Walking around, a couple of fresh graves stuck out to him, but neither had the right name. Going further back, a stone beneath a decent-sized oak tree caught his eye. Walking over, he read the name Mark Appleton engraved above the dates August 1841 to October 1934. A quote at the bottom brought a smirk to Heath's face. "As you are, so once was I. As I am, so you shall be." He read the words out loud. He remembered hearing the words somewhere before, but he wasn't sure where. He began digging, stopping every few minutes to look around and check that he was still alone. Even if no one was there to harm him, digging up a grave could land him a ride to the police station at a minimum. He had done this so many times, managing to mostly avoid being caught. There had been a couple of occasions where a groundskeeper wandered over as he finished digging, but he was able to escape by spotting them before they saw him. Only a few feet into the hole, his shovel hit something hard. Reaching down, he brushed a thin layer of dirt away to reveal the top of a container. An engraving showed a phoenix surrounded by stars with the words, "Today we rise," and a banner flowing behind it. Pulling the tube out of the hole, Heath found the bottom of the tube had another engraving, M. Appleton. Closer inspection revealed a break in the middle of the cylinder, and a gentle twist caused it to open up. Pulling the halves apart, he discovered what appeared to be some paper shoved inside one of them. Reaching in, he removed what turned out to be an envelope from the container. Unfolding it, his eyes widened when he found his name written on the back. So that's the end of chapter 15. A lot going on and a lot big stuff starting to happen. We're starting to get some answers, more questions, but we're also starting to get some answers. And we're going to get a few more of those in chapter 16 and as we move forward. There's only a few chapters left. So if If you enjoy if you enjoyed the book so far, make sure you like the videos as you're going through the playlist, and hopefully you started with chapter 1 and now you're moving right along. Make sure you like the videos. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That helps out a lot, and it lets YouTube know, hey, this is good stuff to share, right? Make sure you comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts as far as what you think about the book and its chapter and where you think that it's going. I'd love to see guesses based off of what you think is going to be happening. But that's all I got for now. I do want to thank you all for watching. If you want to see the next chapter ahead of time, if it's not out on YouTube yet, you can go over to Patreon. They come out a week early over there. So if it helps support the channel, and you get a little bit of some cool stuff behind the scenes and chapters early and all that kind of stuff. So I want to thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.